Councillors, can I have your attention, please? Welcome to this meeting of the Town Planning Committee, and I declare the meeting open. We will commence the meeting with the following reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people and pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Apologies tonight, and I have an apology from Councillor Ross and from Councillor Davies, and I note that all the other councillors are here tonight. Declarations of interest. Councillors, do we have any declarations of interest to declare? Thank you. Ordinary business. For tonight's meeting, the councillors have advised of the matters for consideration this evening that they wish to particularly discuss or debate. The remaining items will be adopted without discussion. The items to be discussed tonight are item 5.2, T210942 PA, use of land for community care accommodation and the construction of a multi-storey, multi-use building associated with a medical centre, office and community care accommodation in the activity centre zone at 81 Henry Street, Pakenham, withdrawn by Councillor Ryan. Councillor Ryan, I understand you have a motion that differs from the officer's recommendation. Can you please move your motion, please?
Thank you, Mayor. The council's issued a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for the use of the land for the community care accommodation and the construction of a multi-storey, mixed-use building associated with a medical centre, office and community care accommodation in the activity centre zone at 81 Henry Street, Pakenham, as per officer recommendation. However, a change to the condition number 8 of the proposal condition to read as follows: unless the prior written consent of the responsible authority, the communal rooftop outdoor area must only be used Monday to Sunday between 7 AM and 9 PM. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cameron. I'll now go back to you, Councillor Ryan, to speak to this item first.
Thank you. A decision to grant a planning permit is subject to the conditions within this report. The use of land for the community care accommodation and the construction of the multi-storey mixed-use building associated with the medical centre, office and community care accommodation in the activity zone 81 Henry Street, Pakenham. The subject site is located in the Precinct 4 East Commercial and Mixed Use of the Activity Centre Zone, which was introduced into the Cardinia Planning Scheme by Planning Scheme Amendment C228 on the 30th of September 2021. There is no previous permit history for this site. As per the officer's recommendation, however, a change, well, we've gone through the change. Before the development starts, plans to the satisfaction of the responsible authority must be submitted to and approved by the responsible authority. When approved, the plans will be endorsed and will be then formed part of the permit. The plans must be generally in accordance with the plans prepared by the VIA architects dated the 25th of the 3rd, 22nd. The plans must include, and there's 36 conditions on this plan that will need to be met. So I'm not going to read them all out because everyone will have a copy of the report. But there was only the change that that the proposed motion was on number 8. This is a multi-storey building with apartments, and it will be servicing residents that are on NDIS. Accessibility and access for people around the shopping area is an ideal environment, but it's also a building that has a medical centre underneath. It also has an office for the medical staff. There's also a car parks of, I think, 10 car spots allocated, and the traffic coming in off the street would be for people who have visitors using Uber, taxi service or deliveries. The majority of the residents would not have a car to be parked under the car park. So there wouldn't be any conflict with the cars coming off the road or parking on Henry Street because it's quite a busy street. I have looked over this report and I am happy with the report, and I'll leave it at that for anyone else that wants to speak. Mayor?
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Cameron, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I'll reserve my right to discuss this at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Councillor Kowalczyk.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll be brief. Thanks, Councillor Ryan, for withdrawing this item. I'm of a mind to vote in support of this tonight. This has been a difficult application for me to reach a decision personally, given obviously the benefit that it will bring, but also the potential for overdevelopment in the street, which I think there is some potential there. Councillor Ryan mentioned the 36 conditions that this application, if it proceeds, will be subject to, and I think that's important to note that Council maintains a great deal of control over this application if it is approved with 36 conditions. That's important to me. I think when I look at the overall purpose of the building and the specialist disability accommodation that it provides, that net benefit to the community is something that's really hard to overlook. I think when you then combine that with the commercial use of the medical centre underneath, which again provides community benefit, I think I'm of a mind to support it tonight. It's tough because there are some improvements I would like to see, particularly in the design of the apartments. There's one toilet downstairs for use of the medical centre, and although that complies with the planning scheme, I would like to see some other benefits in that space. But I'm going to support Councillor Ryan tonight, and I commend her on the work she's done on this application. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Ryan, for withdrawing this item. Yes, of course, it's a multi-storey building, and that is the first thing that residents around the area will look at and go, we don't want that size, that 5-storey building. I can understand that why. That's looking at the topography and the area we have now and the visual look we have within that area. Now, once the sky rail, the overhead rail goes into that area, the whole area will change in look. And this, in the future, there will be more of these type of developments that go around the railway station and working with this particular zoning, this area. So naturally it brings a lot of development into this time. So I want to thank Councillor Ryan for this. And also, of course, I also support the change in the condition of condition 8 of this. So it's mainly the time of the rooftop area to be open now between 7 AM and 10 PM, and I think that's pretty respectful. And I want to congratulate the applicant for listening to our planners and listening to the condition changes of this area, because I think being an activity area like it is, with particularly the medical centre, and it's going to suit our residents of that area, and I just can understandably always vote for this, and I'm going to support this particular item. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I might just make a quick note to say that, look, I too support the words that have been shared by the councillors and Councillor Ryan's proposal here. I'm happy to see the amendment change for the rooftop timing down to 9 p.m. and that seems fine to me. And I think as well, I do note the concerns that have been raised within the community of this development, but I think the net benefit that is provided to the community from this development, outweighs in the balance of things. Is I do support this moving forward as per Councillor Ryan's motion. Before I go back to the mover, I'll go back to the seconder to see if Councillor Cameron would like to speak to this item now.
Thank you, Mayor. I too support this development, and I note that the developer has worked in consultation with NDIS and consequently has put together a very good plan for the development in terms of access for anybody with any sort of disabilities to be able to utilise the facility. If you look at the area, it is going to be an area over time which will be developed and become a strong mixed-use commercial area, as the layout is adjacent to already available commercial buildings. So I commend the builder also on agreeing to shorten the time of allowed on the roof space in consideration for neighbours. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I'll now go back to the mover to summarise, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you to all my fellow councillors for your support. This is a really important environment, and I'm very I like to advocate a lot for people that have a hard time in life and need some support. The building itself is not going to impinge on any shadowing over the units on the other side of the building. And as we talked about within this room just a few minutes ago, was there is going to be development in and around that area. So we are a growing community, and we have to start servicing our community and what our community needs are. And it's not just about able people, it's about people that have disabilities in every different capacity, no matter what that is. And I think that this is the owners and the developers listening to what's needed, but none of this will be passed unless it is complied with the NDIS regulations, which is one of the authorities, and also within council. So there are structures in place, and with 36 structures there, conditions there, you have to follow through with that. And I think that this will be, and the fact that the medical centre's there as well, which will service the community as well as the residents there. And I think that, I appreciate the time change that I put in for. It's not too much to ask, and I think the residents, they'll have their other areas to interact with their visitors and their neighbours. And again, I appreciate the support from the councillors. They've listened to my passion about this environment, and I thank you very much, and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillors, we'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Moving along to item 5.3, T210968 PA, use and development of land for a childcare centre, 1 to 3 Savage Street in Pakenham, withdrawn by Councillor Ryan. And Councillor Ryan, I understand that you again have a motion that differs from the officer's recommendation. Can you please move your motion?
Yes, I'm moving the motion that consideration on this matter be deferred until the October council meeting to allow further consideration on this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll go back to you, Councillor Ryan, to speak to this item first.
This item is quite complex and there are more information needed from the interest of councillors to investigate before a decision is made. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Kowalczyk.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't have much to add other than to say, yeah, in the interest of making the best decision possible, I think it's pertinent that we take a little bit more time, gather a little bit more information and reach our decision in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Before going back to the move, I'll just note that I also support the recommendation at this point in time just to defer it for 2 weeks so we can gather some further information before we make an important decision which affects communities and stakeholders alike. So, Councillor Ryan, I'll take it back to you to summarise, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk, for seconding. I haven't much to add to this. I think that, as much information as we can achieve in finding and bringing it back to council and making the right decision for this community within, in reference to this childcare centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that item carried. Thank you. That concludes discussions of the items withdrawn. Are there any other matters listed in the agenda that other councillors may wish to debate and discuss also? There being none, if I can, please have a mover to adopt the officer's recommendations for the remaining items. Councillor Moore, and a seconder, please. Councillor Radford. All those in favour, councillors, please raise your hand. I declare that carried. That concludes tonight's town planning meeting. We will now move into the special council meeting and I declare this meeting open. Reflection, and we'll have a reflection again because it's important, councillors. It's a fresh meeting and we have to make the right decisions here. So I would ask those gatherers to join us for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber, and please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Thank you, councillors. Look, I note that we still have received apologies from both Councillor Ross and from Councillor Davies. And I will ask now if councillors have any declarations of interest on the special council meeting they wish to declare. There being none, I'll move on to the business of this special council meeting. The sole item for consideration at this meeting is the transition of library services from Cardinia Libraries to Miley, My Community Libraries Limited. Can I have a mover, please, to adopt the officer's recommendation for this matter? Councillor Radford. And can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cameron. Thank you. Councillor Radford, I'll go to you first to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move the officer's recommendations, which is that council reaffirms council position to transition Cardinia Shire's library services from Cardinia Libraries, the CCL, to Miley, My Community Libraries Ltd Limited, and appoint Councillor Springfield as delegate of Cardinia Shire Council on the Miley board. And finally, acknowledge the resignation of Councillor Springfield from the CCL board and appoint Councillor Kowalczyk onto the CCL board until the time that a delegate from Cardinia Shire Council is no longer required on the CCL board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. And I've already noted that Councillor Cameron had seconded that, so I'll go to you first, Councillor Radford, if you'd like to speak to this item on hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cameron, for seconding. Yes, this is fairly simple. It has been an in-camera matter, as this has been a confidential item while we've been working out all the ins and outs of transitioning from the CCL to Miley. We can now say out loud in public that that is what our intention is to do. So I'm just going down. So just quickly, for 25 years, CCL has grown to be Victoria's largest public library service. But now within Cardinia Shire, there's been a change, a huge growth, a change in our diversity and changing needs to our community. And so that model doesn't fit anymore. And so we went out to tender to find a fit for purpose library service model that will connect with the community in delivering a contemporary library service. So Miley has been the favourable evaluated by the panel, which did include 2 independent consultations. A council procurement risk assessment was undertaken to identify risks and mitigation opportunities to support a successful tender process and outcome. And within our in-camera meetings, I can confirm that there were thorough questions asked of our council officers, especially by Councillor Kowalczyk. Thank you, very thorough process. And so council confidently feels good to move forward with this. So this recommendation is to formally reaffirm Cardinia Shire's intention to transition to Miley on the 30th of November and to nominate a delegate, which we recommend is to appoint Councillor Jeff Springfield onto the Miley board, as Councillor Springfield, our Mayor, has had experience on the CCL board, and we feel that as a transition to a new board, it would be good to keep that consistency of having the same person while we're transitioning to a new board. So I highly support Councillor Springfield doing that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I'll now go to Councillor Cameron, the seconder, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor, and I agree with everything that Councillor Radford has stated. And in relation to the appointment of Councillor Jeff Springfield as delegate on the Miley board, part of this recommendation is to ensure that there is no conflict of interest, and it's recommended that Councillor Springfield resigns from his position and appoint Councillor Jack Kowalczyk on the board until a representative from Cardinia is no longer required as part of the transition to from the Cardinia Council Casey Library. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Would any other councillors like to speak on this item? I might just say a few words myself and say, look, I thank you for the words of support for me to represent the Cardinia Shire Council on the new board of Miley when we transition towards that. I really appreciate that, and I look forward to hopefully having that opportunity to do so. A little bit of background, as Councillor Radford mentioned, CCL has been in existence for 25 years, so it has existed as long as Cardinia Shire Council has existed, and we have had a fantastic library service that's been delivered to our community through that union of Casey Cardinia Libraries. It's been a wonderful opportunity for me the last 2 years at the start of this council term to be the board representative on the CCL board, and in that time we have seen a massive change that's come about. As for councillors who I'm sure you're all aware, but part of the new Local Government Act was a transition away from the regional library board. So every regional library board that's established in Victoria has to transition by 2030. This due to the 2020 Act. This conversation came up early in the time when I first started the CCL board, and it was decided, the board members at that time, that we needed to look at transitioning and we should do this earlier than later, and it was a board decision to do so, at which point we went out for expressions of interest and to tender. And I want to say that I'm really happy and excited that we found a fantastic provider to help to keep delivering our services bigger and better into the future, and that is Miley. Miley is going to be a wonderful provider for our library services into the future, and I personally really look forward to working with Miley and the whole Miley team to help deliver that. And rest assured for the community members listening tonight that there will be no drop in service. It's only going to be delivered bigger and better and adapted for the future. And we're going to ensure that as a council to make sure that our library services do not falter in this whole transition. It's been a big process in this transition, in the background for it and the legalities of it, and hence why until this point in time it has been in-camera discussions and confidential items. So this is a great opportunity for us to come out and be able to spruik and announce to the community and to the wider public that Miley will be the new provider for our library services, and I think it's a great opportunity that we have here. And, you know, I will miss my time with the CCL board, and I do, you know, really appreciate everything that corporation, that CCL has done, both the current CEO, Beth Lupino, who is a fantastic operator, and the previous CEO, Chris, who was also a great operator in his time. So really appreciation to all the staff that helped make our library service so good for our community. And please know, and they know this already, because the staff was one of the biggest main reasons it's taken us, while we had to have these confidential items in the background, to make sure that all staff part of the CCL library group were informed, engaged along the way, so they could have their input into how this transition would look before it was open to the public forum. And I can say that, look, at this point, staff have been engaged well along the way. Every staff member that works within our delivery of our actual libraries does have the opportunity to transition along with us to the new library service, and I'm sure that many of them will, between the Pakenham Library, the Emerald Library, and our mobile library service, to keep delivering these wonderful services for our community. So thank you, councillors. I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Radford, to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and for the extra information in that background, it being on the CCL board. We appreciate you providing that information, and thank you, Councillor Cameron, for your comments as well. Yeah, I think we've all agreed that Miley is going to be a good fit for our growing community and our diverse community, and it is very exciting. And it is important to thank all the staff, our council officers, our general managers, Kylie Traeger, who has spent a lot of time working in this space to ensure that this decision was the right decision for Cardinia. And I think we are all in agreement that it has been. So tonight, to conclude, it is respectfully requested that councillors reaffirm council's position to transition from CCL to Miley, and the Councillor Springfield resigns from his position on the CCL board and be appointed as the council representative on the Miley board, and following Councillor Kowalczyk to be appointed onto the CCL board until such time a representative of Cardinia is no longer required on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Councillors, we'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that item carried. Thank you. Thank you all for your interest tonight. I now declare the meeting closed and wish you a good night. Thank you.